The first scream tore through the Vermont night like a blade, sharp and raw, pulling me from sleep. I bolted upright, heart slamming against my ribs, the air thick with the scent of pine and something metallic blood. My name is Elias Torres, and until that moment, I thought the worst thing about moving to this sleepy college town was the Wi-Fi. It was October, and Stowe, Vermont, was a postcard of crimson leaves and quaint charm. The kind of place where people left their doors unlocked and everyone knew your coffee order. I'd come here to escape the noise of Boston, chasing a quieter life as a barista while finishing my graphic design degree online. At 24, I was piecing myself together after a messy breakup, swearing off love and its complications. But that night in the woods behind my rented cabin, everything changed. I grabbed my flashlight and stumbled outside, the beam cutting through the fog. Another scream closer now sent my pulse racing. Against every instinct, I ran toward it, my sneakers crunching on frost-covered leaves. In a clearing, I found him, a man, maybe 26, sprawled in the dirt, his dark skin glistening with sweat and blood. His name, I'd later learn, was Caleb Winters. His eyes, wide with terror, locked onto mine as a shadow loomed over Hema creature. Massive, furred, with teeth like knives. A werewolf. I froze, my breath catching as the beast's yellow eyes met mine. It lunged, and I threw myself at Caleb, shielding him. Pain seared through my shoulder as its teeth sank in, hot and vicious. I screamed, swinging the flashlight wildly, and the creature recoiled, vanishing into the trees. Caleb was panting, alive, but my vision blurred as I collapsed beside him, the world fading to black. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed, bandages tied around my shoulder. Caleb sat beside me, his face a mix of guilt and gratitude. "You saved me," he said, his voice low, like he was afraid of breaking something fragile. He was striking tall, with a runner's build, his eyes a deep brown that held stories I wanted to unravel. But my head spun, not just from the pain, but from a strange heat coursing through me, like my blood was rewriting itself. The doctors called it a miracle. No infection, no permanent damage. But they didn't know about the fever that wouldn't quit or the way my skin burned when a nurse's silver watch brushed against me. I thought it was stress, trauma, anything but what Caleb told me later, in the dim light of my cabin's porch. "That thing bit you," he said, his voice trembling. "It was a werewolf. And I think it changed you." I laughed, because what else do you do when someone says something that insane? But Caleb wasn't joking. He was a grad student, studying folklore, and he'd been tracking rumors of a creature in these woods for months. He showed me his notes pages of scribbled accounts from locals, stories of missing hikers, strange howls. "You didn't turn," he said, "but something's different. You feel it, don't you?" I did. My skin itched around anything silver me keys, a spoon, even the cheap ring I'd worn for years. I tossed it in a drawer, but the burning lingered. Worse, there was Caleb. Every time he was near, my heart raced, my throat tightened, like my body was allergic to him too. He was beautiful, undeniably so, with a quiet intensity that made me want to lean closer and run away at the same time. I'd sworn off men, but Caleb was a magnet, pulling me towards something I wasn't ready for. We spent the next week together, piecing together what happened. Caleb's research led us to an old book in the university library, its pages brittle and yellowed. It described a rare curse, a werewolf's bite that didn't transform its victim, but instead left them with afflictions of the soul and flesh. Silver became poison, and, in some cases, the heart rebelled against desire itself. "An allergy to beauty," Caleb read aloud, his voice soft. "It's like your body's fighting what it wants most." I wanted to laugh it off, but the truth was in the way my hands shook when he looked at me too long, the way my chest ached when he smiled. I was falling for him, and it felt like a death sentence. The curse was real, and it was tearing me apart. The days blurred into a haze of research and avoidance. Caleb and I scoured Stowe for answers, visiting old-timers who whispered about curses and wolves. One woman, Ms. Harrow, a retired librarian with eyes like steel, told us about a hunter named Marcus, who'd been bitten decades ago and lived in isolation to avoid silver and love. He died alone, she said, her voice heavy. The curse doesn't let you live fully. It takes everything. I didn't want to believe her, but my symptoms were worsening. A silver coin in a thrift store sent me to my knees, gasping, my skin blistering. And Caleb was becoming impossible to ignore. We'd sit on my couch, poring over books, and his knee would brush mine, sending my pulse into overdrive. I'd pull away, blaming the curse. But the truth was I was scared. Scared of falling. Scared of losing myself again. One night, under a full moon, Caleb convinced me to hike to the clearing where it happened. Maybe there's a clue, he said, his optimism infectious. The forest was alive with sound crickets, wind, the distant howl of something that made my blood run cold. We found nothing but a claw mark on a tree, deep and jagged. Caleb reached for my hand, and I let him take it, his warmth grounding me. For a moment, I forgot the curse, forgot the danger. Then my skin burned where his fingers touched, and I yanked away, cursing under my breath. I'm sorry, he said, his voice breaking. I don't want to hurt you. You're not. I lied, but the pain was real, a reminder that this thing between us was doomed. Still, I couldn't stay away. Caleb was relentless, dragging me to every lead, every obscure text. He believed we could break the curse, and his hope was a lifeline I clung to, even as my body fought against it. We tracked down a lead in Burlington, a professor named Dr. Lena Voss, who studied supernatural phenomena. She was in her 50s, sharp and no-nonsense, with a thick German accent. The curse is tied to the wolf that bit you, she said, peering at me over her glasses. Find it, kill it, and the curse might lift. But be careful. The wolf is no ordinary beast. It's clever, and it's hunting you now. Her words haunted me as we drove back to Stowe, the road dark and endless. Caleb was quiet, his hands tight on the wheel. I'm not letting you do this alone, he said finally. We'll find it. Together. I wanted to believe him, but the curse was tightening its grip. My dreams were filled with yellow eyes and snapping jaws, and every morning I woke weaker, my skin raw from accidental brushes with silver. Worse, my feelings for Caleb were growing, each moment with him a mix of joy and agony. I was falling in love, and it was killing me. The hunt began in earnest. Caleb and I mapped out sightings, cross-referencing his notes with police reports. The wolf was active, striking at the edges of town, leaving claw marks and fear in its wake. We armed ourselves with knowledge, not weapons. Neither of us knew how to fight a werewolf. But Caleb's determination was a fire, and I was caught in its warmth. One night, we staked out a farm where a sheep had been torn apart. The air was thick with frost, and I shivered despite my layers. Caleb draped his jacket over me, and I didn't pull away this time. His sense-eater and something uniquely him made my chest ache. But I leaned into it, letting the pain anchor me. Why are you doing this? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You could walk away. He looked at me, his eyes fierce. Because you saved me. Because I see you, Elias, and I'm not afraid of what this is. I wanted to kiss him, to let the world fall away, but my skin burned at the thought. Instead, I nodded, and we waited in silence. Hours passed, and just as dawn broke, we heard a low growl that sent birds scattering. The wolf emerged, larger than I remembered, its fur matted with blood. It saw us and charged. Caleb shoved me behind him, brandishing a flashlight like a weapon. I screamed his name as the wolf leapt, its claws grazing his arm. I tackled it, my shoulder screaming with pain, and we rolled into the dirt. The wolf snapped at my throat, but Caleb drove it back with a wild swing, giving us a chance to run. We made it to the car, hearts pounding, and sped back to my cabin. Caleb's arm was bleeding, and I patched him up, my hands shaking. "We can't keep doing this," I said, my voice cracking. "It's going to kill us." "Then we find another way," he said, his hand finding mine. The pain was there, but so was something else, hope. Fragile but real. I held on, knowing we were running out of time. Weeks passed, and the curse tightened its hold. I could barely touch Silver without collapsing, and Caleb's presence was a constant ache. Beautiful and unbearable. We found a lead in an old journal, hidden in a church basement. It spoke of a ritual to break the curse, requiring the wolf's blood and a sacrifice of the heart. The words were vague, but they gave us a plan. We tracked the wolf to a quarry outside town, its lair a maze of stone and shadow. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and danger. Caleb carried a knife not silver, but sharp enough to draw blood. I carried the weight of my fear, knowing this might be our last chance. The wolf was waiting. It lunged from the darkness, and we fought, clumsy but desperate. Caleb slashed its flank, drawing blood, and I tackled it, pinning it long enough for him to collect a vial of its blood. But it threw me off, its claws raking my chest, and I hit the ground hard, vision swimming. Caleb screamed my name, dragging me to safety as the wolf retreated, wounded but alive. We performed the ritual under moonlight, chanting words from the journal, mixing the wolf's blood with herbs Lena had given us. I felt the curse shift, like a knot loosening, but it wasn't enough. The journal's sacrifice of the heart haunted me. Did it mean love? Life? I didn't know, but I knew I couldn't lose Caleb. Back at the cabin, I confessed everything: how the curse made loving him feel like dying, how I wanted him anyway. He listened, his eyes soft, and then he kissed me. The pain was there, sharp and searing, but so was the warmth, the rightness of it. For the first time, I didn't pull away. The final hunt came on a snowy night, the world blanketed in silence. We'd tracked the wolf to a frozen lake, its tracks fresh in the snow. Lena had warned us, kill the wolf, or it would kill us. My body was weak, the curse draining me, but Caleb's hand in mine kept me moving. We found it at the lake's edge, its eyes glowing in the dark. This time, we were ready. Caleb had a plan: lure it onto the ice, where it would be vulnerable. We moved as a team, our breaths sinking, our fear shared. The wolf charged, and we dodged, leading it onto the thin ice. It cracked under its weight, and with a final push, we sent it crashing into the freezing water. It didn't resurface. The curse lifted, the burning in my skin fading like a bad dream. I could touch Silver again, wear my old ring without pain. But the real miracle was Caleb. I pulled him close, no longer afraid, and we kissed under the stars, the snow falling soft around us. We returned to Stowe, changed but whole. The curse had taken so much, but it gave me something: to a love I'd never have found without it. Caleb and I rebuilt our lives together, proving that even the darkest curses can't stop a heart that fights to love.